Second to that.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. We do not have any presentations tonight, so we'll move on into our consent agenda. Consent agenda tonight consists of City Council minutes for June 25th, 2018, the approval of disbursements through July 9th of 2018, the public dance permits, and lawful gambling permit for the Sueur Rotary. Is there a motion to go ahead and accept the consent agenda as written?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Now move on to our public comment. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing a name and address. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to address City Council tonight? Go ahead and entertain a motion to go ahead and close the public comment section.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll now move on to our public hearing. Public hearing tonight is Small Cities Development Program Grant Update. And tonight we're privileged to have Chelsea here to go ahead and address City Council. Chelsea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm happy to be here this evening to provide an update on your Small Cities Development Grant, which was awarded in June of 2016. It will be going through the end of this year and then wrapping up early next year with reports. This was a single-purpose application awarded to the city, just over $460,000 for owner-occupied and rental rehab. The city applied for 15 owner-occupied projects, 3 single-family rental rehab projects, one property or 2 units for duplex rehab, and then 1 property up to 4 units of multifamily rental rehab. To date, you have 8 projects for the single family. 3 have been complete, 5 are in process. 3 which applied were not able to move forward in the application due to being over the income limits, or 1 was outside of your target area. There has been 1 application that is in process for the single-family rental rehab, and then 1 in process for the duplex, and no applications have been received for the multifamily rehab. In regards to marketing efforts, when the city first decides to apply for the application, a letter is sent to each property in the target area. They are invited to a community meeting, which occurred in September of 2015, where we talk about the project, we talk about the pre-application and survey information we request to write the application, and then they are notified again once the city is awarded, which they were in June of 2016, and a second community meeting was held. All the property owners were notified then. I would say, from my recollection, we probably had about 20 people in the audience at the time between owner-occupied and rental. Since then, I know the city, along with my colleague Michelle, who actually administers the program, have done some other marketing efforts, including some ads in the paper, information on city website. I remember a news article a news story through KEYC that was shared, and then some videos in regards to how to apply for the program. So that's kind of a summary of where we're at today. I would certainly entertain any questions the council or audience would have. Yeah.
Councilmember Jansen.
You rattle off some numbers. Can you, instead of telling us what didn't happen or what didn't get approved, how many went? You said 3 were completed and 5 are in progress? Is that?
3 owner-occupied units have been completed out of the 15 that we estimated would perhaps apply based on the feedback from the preliminary application results when people filled out the pre-applications and surveys. And there's 5 in various stages of process right now. So a total of 8 somewhere in the process, 3 of those completed. And then there was an additional 3 that applied that could not move forward because they didn't meet the objectives.
So how much of the $460,000 will be used and how much is left over and where does that go?
So in regards to how much will be used, it'll depend on the scope of those final projects that are out there, and we don't know that number right now. For single-family rehab specifically, owner-occupied, there was $273,000 allocated for those projects. Any money the city does not use that was part of the award would go back to the state and be recycled to future grant applications.
Thank you.
Chelsea, is there any way to go ahead and increase the target size that's been identified, or I guess it's too far?
Yeah, at this point, no, there isn't. The state has implemented, since your application, an opportunity during the application phase to identify a target area A and then a target area B. So if you're not generating the interest in that initial target area, you can move into those adjacent areas, but that was not an option at the time of this application.
So I guess the next 2 questions I have would be, what can we do as a city to go ahead and continue to get the word out there so we can get more people to sign up for this process? And the second question would be, what's our chances of being able to get grant money in the future for this moving forward?
Well, I would answer your second question first by saying the situation with fewer applications than what you targeted is not uncommon to other communities. It's great money to be able to receive. It's not, there are hurdles to access it. If it's federal funds, it has to meet certain federal objectives, and it's just not as easy as coming in and saying, here's what I want to do, and then getting the money. So I would say that's one hurdle that households will come upon. Also, the time period between when you notify and when dollars become available. All of these are out of control of the city, by the way. Just challenges that all these communities are facing. And so I would say the city certainly hasn't had anything happen that's not like other communities. And I would say if you chose to move forward again, as long as you are reflecting back on the previous application, where you targeted before, what households did utilize the program, identify what some of those challenges might be, and acknowledge that in a future application, I would think that the state would look favorably upon that.
Thank you.
I do have another question. I might have missed this. I apologize if I did.
That's fine.
How long do we have for these applications? How much more time is there on this? Where's the clock ticking right now?
So the program ends in December. I understand, though, did Sam receive some information from Deed in regards to further applications?
Yeah, if I may, we did receive some information from Deed, and they requested that we stop accepting applications because of the time period it takes to process those and go through the process. So I believe that we requested that we have another month. We think that it can happen, but those applications are closing soon.
Moving forward, should we go ahead and apply again for this grant? I assume that we'd be looking at a different target area?
Likely, or, you could use part of the current area, again, doing an analysis of the current area where those projects took place, and really it's based on where do you see the greatest need for rehab in your community, and then during that initial inquiry phase, reaching out to those property owners and soliciting interest. So you can always start a little bit larger and see what sort of interest comes back and then narrow the target area from there. But as I mentioned before, you can't expand it from there. So that would be up to the community to decide. I've seen communities do, one area of town, go back a few years later and do another area of town, but I've also seen some crossover as well. It really depends on where the interest is and need.
Okay. Any other questions for Chelsea? On behalf of the city of Sueur, thank you so much for taking your time to come and give us an update.
Absolutely.
Very much
And
appreciated.
any other questions, please let Sam or Jasper know, and we can address those for you, so.
If I may add, we do need to hold a public hearing, so we need to officially open it and then see if there's any input from the public and then close the public hearing.
Entertain a motion to go ahead and open up the public hearing.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing's now open. Anybody from our audience like to go ahead and ask any questions of Chelsea here regarding the Small Cities Development Program grant update that she just talked about?
Yes, actually, Chelsea,
Please identify yourself.
Chris Jamsma, was deed the only thing?
Go to the podium, Chris,
Oh,
would
I'm
you please?
sorry.
Thank you.
Was deed the only resource used as far as a public resource? Like, was Lutheran Social Services contacted, MVAC possibly, you know, other organizations that are identifying these households before they might come up to everybody else? Thank you.
To my knowledge, and I will also point out that I started with the organization after the city had had some discussions about wanting to move forward with this application. So I can go back and ask some others in my office as well to provide you a more concise answer. I believe Minnesota Valley was involved prior to the application, when the city had a housing task force talking about recommendations that came out of the housing study and what to prioritize and move forward with. So I know there was some community members, maybe some of you in the room were involved with that, and I believe along with our organization, there were some other similar organizations in on that conversation as well. So,
Go ahead.
I've just asked Jasper this question earlier, just to, can you talk about, are you going to report to the EDA in regard to this as well? I mean, the EDA was kind of the group that the city delegated this project to. So are you going to report back to EDA too, or how does the EDA get some closure on this?
we certainly can do that. I can follow up with Sam and see if she would like me to come back and provide the same summary to the EDA that the council is receiving. This is just the public hearing progress report is a requirement of deed, but certainly we can present to the EDA as well. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and if I could, so with the grant, you're required to hold 2 public hearings. We held one back in, I believe, 2016, and this is the second one. I think it would be appropriate to go back to EDA once the final numbers are in, then we can kind of compare what we applied for and what was granted through the whole process. This is a formality to make sure that we're following the deed process, but the EDA will definitely be involved once we wrap this up, and they'll have a key part in deciding if this is something that we're going to apply for again.
Well, I think that's important because we've had some turnover with a new economic development director and some new members on the EDA. And so a number of them probably don't have any idea of what this is, what this even is, and it would be good for them to be updated.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's a great idea to go ahead and have a brief to the EDA as well. So that perhaps maybe we can get you on the docket for our meeting, our second meeting of the month here in July, or whatever your schedule looks like, perhaps
Yeah,
August.
and I literally live right down the road, about 10 miles under normal traffic conditions. I haven't been up this way for a while, so I didn't realize I had to drive a little bit further, but yeah, so it's not a problem for me to come whenever.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Is there anybody else from the public that has any questions or concerns, comments? Okay, thank you again, Chelsea, and I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing.
So move.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. We now move on to our regular agenda tonight, and the first thing on the docket is 8 Alpha, which is the purchasing policy update.
Mayor Hague, members of the City Council, before you is something that spurred from some legislative action that occurred earlier this year. It takes effect on August 1st of 2018. Essentially, the state of Minnesota has updated or amended Chapter 471 of the Minnesota State Statutes, moving the bidding threshold from 100,000 to 175,000. Now, this hasn't been updated since 2008. This is important to the city of Sueur. For one, any bidding process that has to go through the formal bid process costs the citizens, the city, more money. There's more oversight. If you look at our purchasing policy, we do follow the state statute as well for those purchases between 100,000 and 175,000. So we are still required to get 2 written quotations, have a quote package for those. But this just opens up the flexibility. It's in tune with what the construction, kind of the price index has occurred since 2008. The increases, it will allow us a little more flexibility as a city. So what is being requested in the purchasing policy, and I believe everybody has seen this at city council orientation or some other event, but that purchasing policy that is in the packet is something that guides staff on what they can purchase and how they can purchase it. And what we are doing is basically the highlighted areas are the areas that have been amended to go along with what the Minnesota state statute is. So with that, I'll entertain any questions. What we are looking for is a motion to approve the amended purchasing policy as attached.
I have a couple of comments, if I may.
Councilmember Krogman.
Thank you. Let's be clear, just so everybody understands what I'm doing. This applies to purchases greater than 175,000.
Correct.
Not 175,000, but greater than.
Greater than.
There's 2 places where it needs to be corrected.
Okay.
Okay? Also, does this also cover services included with a contract, not just materials?
Correct.
Okay. If I can draw your attention then to the page that has a table on the top that reads level of purchase procurement method. I think it's the second page, but it's not numbered. The second paragraph reads, whenever a purchase is made through the state of Minnesota's cooperative purchasing venture that falls, now it reads, under the 175,000 limit. That should read, subject to the greater than $175,000 limit, I believe. It's very technical, but we could theoretically have a bid at 175.
The
Yeah.
quotation
Okay.
proposal method above shall not apply.
Yeah.
So if it's under 175,000, it would not apply, correct?
175,000 is not the key. Greater than 175,000 is the key.
Yeah. So, and I can clarify. So what the state bid is it's just for materials. So the state bid contract doesn't have any services or anything like that.
Good.
It's like if we want to buy a plow truck or a large chassis vehicle or a front end loader, we have a state cooperative bid, cooperative bidding, or not, it's the state cooperative purchasing agreement is what it's called. And per the agreement, and this is commonplace in many cities, is that if it's on the state bid, it's likely the lowest possible price, and then we don't have to go through the formal bid process for that. But if it is above 175, we still need to get quotes. So greater than 175, we can make that
Yeah,
clarification.
and I think, I don't want to be too informal here, but I think we can correct that without having the exact wording now, just pointing that out.
Yep.
Likewise, under the paragraph in the middle of the bottom area, bid security deposit. Okay, to be clear, the last line reads purchase of materials under 175,000. It is just materials at this point? Is that true? Or should we say services and materials here?
It could be services and materials.
So we should say both.
Yeah.
Services and materials, and then it should read costing 175,000 or less, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mayor, if I may, I just suggest that we make those changes as we approve it, but also indicate that it's effective 1 August, not now.
Correct. So just to be clear, that second paragraph below the table, that should be greater than the $175,000 limit?
Materials costing 175,000 or less.
175K or less. And under
And it should be materials and services.
on the bid securities, deposit, that should be costing $175,000 or less.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I was just answering.
The first one should be the greater than $175,000.
Correct,
for that
subject
second
to,
paragraph.
not, the word under is very confusing.
Okay.
That's why I'd say subject to the greater than 175,000. We might want to say threshold rather than limit, but I'm sorry not to have done this sooner. I apologize.
It's okay. Councilmember Johnson?
Question, just to clarify the change. The threshold for requiring a formal bid process used to be greater than 100,000, and that's being increased to greater than 175,000. But Jasper, in your comments, you said something about it gives us flexibility. Is there situations where we might require a formal bid process for things under 175,000?
It depends on direction from city council. If we follow this to the T, we would use staff discretion on this. If we think that we should go out and get a formal bid on a certain item, we will. It doesn't limit us to not do that. It just says that anything above 175, we have to.
So how would, I mean, in order, we need to provide some kind of consistency. What would cause us to ask for a formal bid for a project of 150,000 in one case and not another?
Well, it would likely be just a discussion at city council. If we want to do something, it would likely be identified in the capital improvement plan. And if it's something that we want on our radar to actually bid out as opposed to getting written quotations, then that could just be mentioned during the budget process. And frankly, we don't have that many purchases above 100,000, but as prices and construction costs go up, we might see more and more of them. So, for example, our seal coating and crack sealing projects, they're roughly at about $75,000. If we do want to start doing more, we might do a larger area, and that could exceed that $100,000 threshold. It's easier to get written quotations. We have a good formal bid quote process here. We post them on our website, and we have a time period. It's similar to a bid process, but it doesn't take as long. We don't publish in a paper. We don't have a lot of those expenditures that are associated with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns, comments? If not, go ahead and entertain a motion to go ahead and make a couple of changes as suggested by Councilmember Krogman. The first one being in that second paragraph of page 2, where it's materials, and we're looking for greater than $175,000 threshold. And the second being in the bid security deposit, which is about 5 paragraphs below that. That will be costing $175,000 or less, and that's applicable to both services and materials.
Also effective 1 August, Mr. Mayor.
And, yes, and effective 1 August. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion is carried. We now move on to 8 Bravo, which is our city council vacancy.
Mayor Hague, members of the city council, before you, at the last meeting, 4 individuals were invited back to attend this meeting. One has since withdrawn. We do have 3 candidates here, Christopher Jansma, Jeff Wormka, and Marvin Sullivan. The process will be invite one of them up to the podium, answer the various questions that have been on the application, give an opportunity for a personal statement, and then from there, invite another individual up and then have discussion. So with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor, and Mayor Hague can run this portion of the meeting.
Okay, so what we initially did is we asked each of the candidates to fill out 5 questions, and in most cases, they've answered those questions when they submitted their applications. So what I would like to do is bring them up one at a time, and if there's anything that any of our council members have that they would like to specifically ask each of the candidates, that's what the purpose of this would be, and once that's all done, then we can go ahead and go from there. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and start with Christopher Jansma, if you'd like to go on up to our podium. First off, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, and everybody else
If you'd like to go ahead
present,
and make
watching, and listening at home.
If you'd like to go ahead and make a statement, Christopher, that would be great in regards to why you'd like to be part of the city council.
Well, as I kind of mentioned in my application, I did do 4.5 years in the Army. And ever since I got out, I've always done my best to find more purpose in my daily rituals, I guess, my daily life. I'm an active member in my VFW and active family man, I guess. So next step is to be active in my community. You know, I purchased a home here, so I've invested in it, and I'd like to invest some time into it.
Okay. So, question number one, everybody can see up there, what are your qualifications, if any, for a position of city council member? Have you been involved either here in Sueur or elsewhere in any city government committees, organizations, groups, et cetera, and if so, in what capacity?
Not so much on the government side of things, but when I was with the nonprofit that I used to work for in Mankato, I was a part of the homeless task force in Mankato, which it was built upon the local police, medical personnel, you name it, whoever wants to tackle the homeless agendas. As far as the VFW, I probably get the most experience from them as far as how meetings are conducted, how this whole ball of wax goes. And, a couple years ago, before we did our transition, I was the junior vice. So at times I had to play commander when other people were absent. And now I am the adjutant guard, which really doesn't mean anything, but it still shows that my attendance is good and I participate.
Okay. Our second question is, what do you believe the role of serving on city council consists of?
I believe it all in a nutshell is to focus on economical development of the city, whether that's maintain or pushing forward to spend more money, so to say.
Okay. And question three, what interests you specifically or in general regarding a position of serving on city council? What kind of time commitment do you think this position will take? And generally speaking, what do you believe the duties to be?
As per initial question before we started running these up on the board, that kind of sums up the first half of that one. Time-wise, I should have probably done a better job, maybe emailed one of you in the past 2 weeks and said, how much time do you put into this? But rough ball guess, I would think anywhere 10 to 15 hours a month on top of the meetings, seems about reasonable to me.
Okay. And our fourth question, Sueur has many boards, commissions, and committees. Do you have a special interest in some of them, and if so, which ones and why?
I have been reading a lot about the Parks and Recs committees, and that does interest me. I'm somewhat of a athletic, outdoorsy type of person, and I enjoy the parks. Ever since I moved here, I've been bringing my kids or my kid and girlfriend to the park and hang out. So outside of this, I would say the Parks and Rec would be, I'd be interested in, absolutely.
Okay. And our fifth question, are you familiar with the Sueur 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Downtown Master Plan? Based on what you may know to this point, how is the city of Sueur proceeding, and what ideas for change would you have to make Sueur better?
I really remember answering this question too. I'm familiar with it for the most part. I guess I haven't seen the actual drawing or anything if they have been released. But my one concern was, especially right now with all of the flooding we've been having and 8 being closed as much as it is, I know there's a quick trip going in on top of the hill. Well, if anybody were to stop at that quick trip and decide they're tired and want to come into town, get a quick bite to eat or something, and you're coming in from the north side, you don't realize you're driving into a town for quite some time, so if anything, I would say address some of that stuff down there, make a bell or a whistle to get somebody's attention when they turn off a quick trip.
Okay. And before I turn it over to our members of the city council, just a general comment for all three of our candidates. We're going to be picking one perhaps, but that said, we very much encourage you to become members of our different committees, commissions, and boards, all of you. We're always looking for volunteers and for anybody that has any interest at all in doing what you guys have done as far as taking the time to put in the application. First off, it's very much appreciated by the city of Sueur. And second off, like I said, if for whatever reason this position is not filled by one of you at this time, we certainly would like to encourage you to think about the Planning and Zoning Commission or the Parks and Rec or all the various boards, commissions, and committees that the city of Sueur has to offer. Volunteerism is extremely important. Now, with that said, Councilmember Favalis, did you have anything for Chris?
Chris has answered pretty much everything that would matter to me. I was, again, all three of you, your applications were the most detailed, that showed right off the bat that you're putting effort into something that I need to have a team member. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate the fact that you've come out and talk. And some of this is just meeting people face to face. I haven't seen you at a council meeting before, some of these issues and things that we're dealing with, we would have had an opportunity to have a discussion beforehand.
Sure.
And there is the aspect that you could have gotten a hold of any one of us. But again, I appreciate this, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jansen?
I guess I need more information on your knowledge or awareness of the comprehensive plan, and what that is and what the purpose is. I've read several times your answer to the question, and I understand the concern about approaching Sueur coming in from the north, but what do you see as the purpose of the comprehensive plan?
Well, if it's comprehensive, it's just an idea as of right now that, we're all looking at and wondering if it's worth the buck and if it's gonna bring people into town and, more people's, more taxes, and everybody's happier. I think anything done in downtown area, every other town they seem to do really good when they, brighten up their downtown districts, because it's always the last district to be upkept a lot of times. So when it finally does reach that point of being upkept or remodeled, it's a night and day difference, because it's always 150-year-old buildings that are getting facelifts, and I think it's always gonna make an impact.
The comprehensive plan is accessible on our website. Have you taken a look at it?
I looked at it, but I access everything through my phone, and it didn't necessarily download properly when I tried.
Thank you.
Councilmember Huntington?
Well, I'd like to say to all three of you, just like Johnny had mentioned too, is that I'm impressed by the amount of the questions you answered and thoroughly, and it really makes me very proud that people take the time to spend time doing this kind of stuff and be a part of this team here too as well. As far as you, Chris, I'd like to say just thank you for your service too, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm just quite I'm just in awe by the fact of the answers you guys answered, and I appreciate you guys spending the time here. I think that whether you're selected or not, or any of the three, I encourage you, like the mayor says, join a community board or a commission, or we can get you involved in whatever it is, or even just attend a city council meeting and see what we're doing and keeping us on our toes too. So other than that, I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Roloff?
I just wanted to say also, I also just wanted to say also, actually, thank you for taking the time to actually fill out the questionnaire. It was actually actually thorough, and I took the time to read it all, and I just wanted to say also thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Krogman?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jeff Warmka, if we can get you on up and go ahead and give us a little introduction in regards to who you are and why you decided to take this leap of faith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I just, with my wife, saw it online, and she said, hey, would you be interested? And I said, sure. I was recently stationed here with Minnesota Department of Transportation, and we moved up here from Eagle Lake. And wherever I've been stationed, I've always wanted to be involved in the community. Most of the time it's through the fire service. But when this opportunity came along, I was itching to get involved, so I thought I'd give this a try. Served on many boards throughout the course of my life. I did 8 years with Walnut Lake Township as a supervisor, and that was just a great experience, and I loved every minute of that. So I thought, well, maybe this would be like that. I'm hoping it would be if I was to be selected. So that's kind of what got me involved, and I just want to, for my kids, I'm a family man just like Chris, and basically just showing my kids that you got to be involved in your community, and if you can't come up with, you can't just have complaints all the time. You got to have a solution for every one of your complaints. So that's what I'm here for today.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Question number one, what are your qualifications, if any, for a position of city council member? Have you been involved either here in Sueur or elsewhere in any city government committees, organizations, groups, et cetera, and if so, in what capacity?
I've been involved in many groups. I've been in the public service since I've been 21 years old. I didn't join the Army. I wanted to go to the Army, but my dad was a Army Ranger in Vietnam, and he said he had fought enough, and so he asked me to stay home and help him farm. So I wanted to do something, so I got involved in firefighting. Like I said, I had 12 years in the fire service. I recently retired, but that can be undone very easily. And then I also joined Walnut Lake Township Board. My father's a county commissioner. I look up to him a lot, so I wanted to do something for my community also. So I spent 8 years with Walnut Lake Township. That was taking care of roads, culverts, dealing with water issues, planning and zoning, taxes, and township business, you take care of everything. There's just 3 supervisors, a clerk, and a treasurer, so it's grassroots. It was a lot of fun. You can get a lot of work done fast because you have no red tape because it's just the 3 of you. So I enjoyed that a lot. Was involved in a lot of organizations through high school and college, FFA, post-secondary agricultural students. So spent a lot of time in committees and being in government all my career. I understand how government works, how the bidding processes go, and how streets and water mains and electrical, and so I deal with all that stuff on a daily basis with my job. So I bring forth a lot of knowledge of infrastructure. I'm a certified bridge inspector for the state of Minnesota, so I understand how maintenance on equipment, and of course the city vehicle fleet. We deal with a large fleet of vehicles, so I understand timing and life cycles and any of that kinds of things.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2. What do you believe the role of serving on city council consists of?
Obviously, it's the financial and also the overall planning and direction that the city is going in. I know that the city council oversees everything that happens within the city, and from sewer, water, electrical, streets, all your basic essential, plus the social aspects of housing and anything that takes place inside the city limits, and the welfare of the citizens of this town are also on the minds of the city council.
Question 3, what interests you specifically or in general regarding a position of serving on city council? What kind of time commitment do you think this position will take? And generally speaking, what do you believe the duties to be?
What I specifically really would like to enjoy and be part of is the overall workings of the city, the streets, obviously, the power, anything to do with the utilities, anything like that would come up. I'd be very interested in. I actually went to school for finance, and I made it 2 weeks as a banker, and I wanted to go right back to being outside and working with my hands, and so luckily that worked out great that I got a job that I just truly love. So I'm truly interested in anything that happens, the routing and sealing and the seal coating and collecting that information and making decisions based upon that. I mean, I eat and breathe that stuff. So very much interested in that. The duties of the city council, obviously I've done this kind of work before, so I got a pretty good time frame idea of what this is going to take. I know it's not a half-hour meeting twice a month. I know it's a lot of phone calls, it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of talking to other city council members and bouncing ideas off. So I'm prepared to do that. I don't like vacations, and I'm always around, so that part does not bother me at all.
Question 4, Sueur has many boards, commissions, and committees. Do you have a special interest in some of them, and if so, which ones and why?
Definitely planning and zoning. That is the one that I'm very interested in, for the same reasons I've already stated.
Okay. And question 5, are you familiar with the Sueur 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Downtown Master Plan? Based on what you may know to this point, how is the city of Sueur proceeding, and what ideas for change would you have to make Sueur better?
I got it right here, read it a few times. It is monumentally ambitious, was my opinion when I read it. That's a lot to take on. And I think, started down the right road here, but my thoughts, as Chris had said earlier, I work on the roads. I missed the last meeting. I listened to it online in my work truck because I was closing 93, which was another access point into town. And so I've always thought that since I've been up here. I'd like to, let people see this town. I mean, a lot of people don't even know it's here because they go right on by it on the highway because they're texting as they drive by me and I'm out there working. So I'd like to see more focus on getting Sueur known. We have since I moved here, I cannot believe what we have in town. We have this community center I can see from my back porch, and it is so busy, and there's so many people in town, and it's like we've got something going here, and I really think we could keep going, but I think we just got to get people realizing what we've got here, and that's the part I want to see keep going, because I think we can draw some more business off of that if we could just be a little bit more visible. Because like I said, I'm out there on the road every day, and people right on by. As they just I don't think we're quite visible enough. So that part of the comprehensive plan, I like how it's laid out into the different zones and the live, the work, converse, and the prosper. I like what we've got going here. I think it was well worth putting this all together. I think we could really do something. We could have one heck of a downtown area if we keep going with this plan. I think it's the right direction. I really, really do.
Okay. Councilmember Favalos.
I want to beat Dave to the punch on this. Do you know what things we've already initiated that go towards that comprehensive plan?
Right down to the little things, no, I don't know exactly.
Well, pretty much every decision that's made through city council and through our city staff, weighs against that. It's technically our blueprint.
Then that's how it reads.
That's right. So we've got 31 blocks of new sidewalks are going to be going in. We've got a dog park that's going in up, well, it's got to be up near your neighborhood.
Yep.
We've initiated the LIFE program here in town, which is the Sueur Initiative for Entrepreneur. It's all about promoting entrepreneurs, starting, helping them with businesses and resources and things like that. We've actually initiated an awful lot of things towards the comprehensive plan. I was kind of looking to see if anybody had any further things, you see anything else that's going on in town that follow along. We have a facade program for our downtown for businesses. The woman that was here talking earlier about the loan programs is another thing for helping the houses in our downtown in that area, the key areas. We have the 112 switchback program, or that's about to start through the county taking over. We've got discussions going on about whether or not the Main Street's going to open up through. There's a ton of things going on that match that.
And I knew about the 112 turn back, obviously, and the discussion of reopening the downtown street. I'm well aware that those two discussions have been going on, obviously.
Okay.
As far as did I know exactly how everything was being implemented? No, because I've only been studying this part-time, not even knowing if I'd even get to this point, so.
Okay. Well, again, I appreciate your time that you've spent. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Well, just to piggyback on the comp plan, the number one recommendation in the comp plan was to do a downtown master plan study. Have you looked at the downtown master plan or accessed that at all? That does involve.
0.4 or 0.4 point, this one? I've got them both, but yeah,
I'm not familiar with that page. Is that a part of the?
it says
downtown
master plan, and it addresses the downtown area.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any perspective on the downtown master plan itself?
I'd have to say I don't have anything, like, I'm not a financial, or as far as, I see government and private sector work together, but I also don't like to see where government is controlling the private sector. And with the downtown vitalization, I'd love to see the businesses come in, and if we can entice that business, that's great. That's something the city council can do. But I would like to see that capitalism and a downtown business would strive on its own without having to be subsidized through any kind of a program like that. If we can get a building, or we can help facade, make changes to a facade or something like that, that's great. But as far as a general idea of how to bring a certain business into town, no, I have not spent the time to develop that or think about that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Huntington.
No, I don't have any questions for Jeff, but thank you very much for
You bet.
coming here today and filling your stuff out. Thank you.
Councilmember Roloff.
I don't have anything, but I would also like to say thank you for taking the time to actually, I've taken the time to answer these questions actually very thoroughly.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Krogman.
Yes, Jeff, you're employed by the state of Minnesota.
Yes, I am.
MnDOT, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you see any conflict there when we start talking about the 112 turnover, which, by the way, I just read, may be now delayed another couple of years? Who knows? Read it in the big paper. And, of course, down here with the road going through, if that happens. Do you see any conflict there?
No, I do not. I am a transportation generalist senior, which is a fancy way of saying foreman, which is a fancy way of saying, hey, let's go to work. So I wouldn't have any conflict of interest over money or anything like that. I'd see nothing, because when we change, it's a one day it's ours, the next day it's somebody else's.
Thank you. One other question then. If I can say it bluntly, there's a tendency on the part of some city councils to micromanage. We put a great deal of faith in our city administrator and the team that he has working for him. You have certain areas of expertise that would be more akin to being in administration than being on a city council.
Yep.
Are you willing and able to balance that so we defer to our staff, advise them and help them, but let them be involved in that? Do you understand that?
Absolutely. I work every day. I've got, with 26 different guys, and my strive is to not micromanage. I do not like to be micromanaged, and I do not want to micromanage. That is one thing I strive for every day.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Mr. Marvin Sullivan. How are you doing tonight?
Good, over yourself, Greg.
Not too bad. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little introduction in regards to who Marvin Sullivan is?
Well, first off, thanks, Mayor and members of the City Council, for inviting me back tonight. I've had a lot of interest in becoming a member of the City Council for some time now. When I finally decided back a couple years ago that I wanted to get on the City Council, I was too late to get on the ballot, so I ran as a write-in. unsuccessfully. Spend a lot of time coming to the meetings. When I can't be here, I try to follow them at home. Try to pay attention to what's going on in the community. Been a member of the ambulance for 12 years, going on 13 years now. So I was a city employee for 10 or 11 of those, and then we sold out. I was a big part of that process. Those communications when we were working with Ridgeview to try and bring them to town. Outside of the city of Sueur, I'm a chief steward for AFSCME, Local 404 out of St. Peter, which is the union that represents us at the St. Peter Regional Treatment Center where I'm employed for the state of Minnesota. So I sit as a chief steward, I'm a board member for them, and there's 7 of us that make decisions to represent 400, 500 employees. So every day we're making decisions, doing things to hopefully make working conditions better for us. Spent a lot of time at the Capitol, working on legislation to protect our employees. Yeah, so I guess that's me in a nutshell. Got 2 kids at home, been here all my life, so.
Okay. Well, we'll start you off with question number 1. What are your qualifications, if any, for a position of city council member? Have you been involved either here in Sueur or elsewhere in any city government committees, organizations, groups, etc., and if so, in what capacity?
I guess I just answered part of that question. Growing up, I was involved in 4-H for, 12, 14 years. Kind of helped me learn some leadership responsibilities. And then, like I said, the ambulance, I was a training officer, so I was part of our board there. And then just with our union as well.
Okay. Question number 2. What do you believe the role of serving on city council consists of?
I think being a city councilman takes a lot of time, and it consists of participating in meetings, being an active participant in meetings, and just knowing what's going on in the community and being a voice for the citizens of Sueur, and just trying to make it a better place for everyone. And I think we're moving in the right direction right now.
Okay, thank you. Question number 3. What interests you specifically or in general regarding a position of serving on city council? What kind of time commitment do you think this position will take? And generally speaking, what do you believe the duties to be?
Well, government as a whole has always interested me. I spend a lot of time, like I say, with the union up at the state capitol. Countless hours up there during legislative season. So, I mean, any part of government interests me. And the duties of being on the city council, I mean, like I said, participating in meetings, being on committees, just working on, but back to the same comment, making the city of Sueur a place people want to come to. And working as a group, I mean, working as a team.
Okay. Question number 4. The Sueur has many boards, commissions, and committees. Do you have a special interest in some of them, and if so, which ones and why?
Well, I remember on my application I noted MRPUC was one that interests me, and part of that is just understanding the inner workings of the facility. Because I hear a lot, when you're out in the community, you hear a lot of people complaining about bills and bills going up and people not understanding why that is. So being able to understand that myself better than I already do, I think I've gotten some of my questions answered over the years. But just understanding it more from physically seeing it, understanding how it functions, understanding why those things need to be replaced, all the parts of it. So that's one that really interests me. Fire commission interests me. I mean, just understanding because I'm already in that field, I understand that process. But I'm pretty open to anything and willing to learn.
Okay. And question number 5. Are you familiar with the Sueur 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Downtown Master Plan? Based on what you may know to this point, how is the city of Sueur proceeding? And what ideas for change would you have to make Sueur better?
Familiar, yes. I know, and you answered a lot of my answers previous with the sidewalks, the roads in town, working on Main Street, working on 112. I mean, so you kind of took some answers from me, but But the master plan, downtown master plan as well, I described in my application, I mean, most of my understanding in a nutshell. Something I think if I was appointed to the city council, I mean, I'd have to spend a lot of time getting up to speed, talking to you guys and understanding what it all means. Because I can read it, but that doesn't mean I understand exactly what it means. And that's with any document, it doesn't matter if it's the master plan, if it's a policy, you gotta be able to understand it. To what I would change, I just think making the city of Leesburg visible, backing off both these gentlemen tonight, and just finding ways to bring people to town. I know in the last few years, we've done things like Market Fest and trying to piggyback off some of the other towns. I don't want to say ideas, but try and bring some of that stuff to Leesburg and try and just draw people to town, draw businesses to town. That would be a huge thing for me. It's just trying to work on getting businesses to come to town and making this someplace people want to live. You know, that's huge for me. I purchased a house here, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, because this is where I wanted my family to be. And we have a great school district. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We're going to go ahead and start off our questions this time with Councilmember Krogman.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Roloff?
I don't have anything, but I would also like to say thank you for taking the time to also answer these questions very thoroughly.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Huntington?
I have no questions either, but thank you, Marvin, for filling this stuff out, and thank you all three of you, too.
Councilmember Johnson, thank you.
Marvin, you gave a really complete answer on the comprehensive plan and downtown master plan. So just picking part of that out there,
Did you go to any of the downtown master plan or comprehensive plan meetings?
I'll be honest with you, unfortunately, I wasn't able to due to my work schedule at the time. So it's hard for me to make those meetings.
So your knowledge about the plans comes from what?
Just from reading it and understanding it, hearing you guys talk about it at council meetings. I mean, for years, I've been watching them. Back when it was on CATV, I was watching it then, following the process, and then just reading it.
Okay, then picking out one of the terms that you used here, the master plan that talks about how to make Leesburg a destination city. What's your perspective on what a destination city is?
Just someplace people want to come to. That's a term I've heard in many cities, that term used, and it's just, my understanding of it is it's a place people want to come to, want to move to. So not like a destination such as Disney World or Valley Fair, but someplace somebody wants to move to and live in.
Thank you.
Councilmember, first off, thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Favalis.
All right, so you've been in town a little longer than the other two individuals here that are also interested in this. And you've been involved in a number of things, so you know more people. And in that, I'm going to assume that you are like many of us that are sitting on council now, that people are very free with coming up and talking with you. One of the things that I've found in the last year and a half on this was I needed to learn the ability to not to not worry about the small stuff. That takes time.
Yep.
It's amazing how many people will talk to you about all kinds of different things that they see that they want to have fixed in the community. Question to you is do you have the ability to overlook the small things and be able to have that discussion with city staff and say, staff, this is something that I'm hearing, and focus on the things that council focuses on?
If I'm appointed to city council, yes. Now, I've raised concerns that may seem petty, but I wasn't in a position to go speak directly to city staff because I wasn't sure who that person was that question needed to be directed to. So, I mean, I can tell you, we've talked, and I posed some questions, but yeah, I definitely could set it aside, and, I mean, I know there's issues that aren't in our control, too, that come up that you hear about. As we've talked many times, I mean, I've talked to a few of you about stuff. But yeah, it's definitely at a city council level, it's definitely a bigger, you're here for bigger ticket items.
That also adds to the idea that maybe we need to look at how we outreach to the community for who at city staff they should be talking to when they have questions. But, all right. No, that's good, thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Favalis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sullivan, for coming on up here, as well as the other two, Chris and Jeff. Just out of curiosity, you do know that this is an election year. By a show of hands, do we have anybody that's looking at perhaps putting their name out there for a potential candidate? Okay, I see Marvin, I see Chris. Okay. Jeff, you're kind of on the fence right now? Okay. So this is going to be a position that's going to take us through the end of this year. And I think for those that would be interested in possibly looking at this for 2018, putting your name out there, I certainly think it's going to be a really good learning experience. You're going to learn an awful lot in a very short period of time. What we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and ask for a recommendation from somebody on City Council in regards to how we'd like to proceed as a council regarding the nomination. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
This is very difficult, Mr. Mayor. Three very qualified people. Again, thank you. I've been quiet about that, but obviously all of us appreciate your stepping forward. I'd almost be inclined to say each of us should indicate the person we think we would want to do it, knowing we're going to have two people we have to say no to if we do it. We could say no to all three, by the way. I don't think that will happen. And then we could, after having that discussion, somebody could make a nomination, or we could just nominate to start. But without somebody jumping on that, I'd like to hear what other council members have to say.
Councilmember Jansen?
I agree with Newell. I think it would be good to hear that. I think all three of you that stepped forward for this temporary position could do the job. I think you all have the motivation, the background, and skills necessary. I think we need to talk about who's best prepared to hit the ground running, because they'll learn a lot on the job, but in order to contribute in the 5.5 months that you'll be on the council, I think is a consideration that we as a council should think about. And the fact that we can only choose one isn't a slam to either of the other two. It's setting priorities and what do we need in a council member for the next 5.5 months, and who can best fill that role. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the same person that might get elected to one of the 3 seats that's opening up in January. The election will be for 3 council seats, 4-year terms. So that's another consideration that you already touched on. But I would like to hear what each member feels is the strongest, but I think we need to have some kind of criteria that we go by, and I think ability to hit the ground running and contribute to the council as well as learn is an important criteria.
I'd like to go ahead and give what my thoughts are on this. I concur that this is a very difficult decision because all 3 of you individuals certainly represent very well. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to do the paperwork and put yourself out there. It's not an easy job by no means. I know that we have a Personnel and Budget Committee meeting this coming Wednesday. And my initial thought on this would be is that perhaps we could go ahead and have a conversation amongst ourselves between now and Wednesday, and we think about maybe we can do a ranking of the 3 individuals individually and get that information to me. We can go ahead and bring that to the Personnel and Budget Committee meeting on Wednesday, and then we can perhaps go ahead and make an announcement at our next meeting. That's what my thought is. I'm just kind of curious as to what you guys think as well.
So can you clarify what will happen at the Personnel and Budget Committee meeting with those ratings?
Well, I'd like maybe each of you to go ahead and do a 1, 2, 3 of the 3 individuals, and then we can perhaps talk about it at the Personnel Budget Committee meeting, and then we can perhaps make an announcement at our second meeting in July.
So the Personnel and Budget Committee is going to recommend a specific person to the city council for the next meeting?
Well, based off, we're going to go ahead and have the results of each of us individually. Each of us will individually rank, get that information to me prior to Wednesday, and then we can go, when the Personnel and Budget Committee meets on Wednesday, we can go ahead and reveal what those results are. And then we can talk about that. What do you guys think about that?
I just want to make one note.
City Administrator, go ahead.
Sorry, if we do go that route, those tallies are public data, and we'll
That's
have to
correct.
share those. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that is correct.
I'll speak very quickly. I would not favor that. I think we are capable of making a decision tonight. The sooner we get the person involved, we do a better job as a council. We fill the seat that we need to fill. If we wait that long, I don't think it will help. So that's just my opinion.
I agree with Noel. I want to put something out there so that it's understood. Generally, this decision would be handled by the mayor. And the mayor has included the rest of city council in being able to meet with you and help make a decision. Based on that, I'll tell you right now, I look forward to working with all 3 of you. Whether or not you're in right now or not, I see 3 people here who aren't going to stop at this. They're going to wind up on some board, some commission, something that I or each one of us is going to wind up being involved, and you shouldn't stop today. You've obviously made a decision that you want to do something, so I encourage you, please, don't stop today.
Okay.
Based on that, I agree with Dave, Councilmember Jansen. Boots on the ground, somebody who has been in and involved in. I have my decision, and I'd be willing to say that I would, Marv, because you've been to these council meetings, because you've been following them, because I see you in the audience, because you've been in town for a while, I would put my endorsement in for him. But again, I don't want either of you to stop. I would look forward to serving with both of you as well.
Thank you. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a 5-minute recess right now, and Stacy, if you could perhaps go on up and get us some blank paper. We're going to go ahead, and sounds like we're ready to go ahead and make a decision tonight. We'll go ahead and rank the 3 individuals tonight, and we'll reveal who our next city council member is going to be, if we could please do that. Is there a motion? Can I get a motion to go ahead and break for about 5 minutes for a recess?
I do have one thing, Mayor. So when we are when we are trying to rank them, 1 would be our top pick, right?
Yes, I'll go through all that once.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we're in is there a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you'd be kind enough to go ahead and get us the materials. Thank you.
The tension. Playing with that policy with the greater than 175. Did it remind you of the bar exam with diversity? I think we should say them out loud. I don't know why we're doing that.
You're probably around public information. You can't provide
We're all going to put our names on paper.
I don't care, I just didn't say it. Anyway, remember federal court diversity jurisdiction. That's what I remember. That's where it came to me. I didn't say anything at the time, but it's a trap we fall into all the time with these numbers, you know. Is it still?
$75,000 controversy.
Yeah.
So you need to talk
Yeah.
about it somewhere before it gets to do that.
Well, but it's
Tell us what we're doing and what's gonna be done.
that's what I want to do. I want to, but I want people to talk about it.
Because I didn't get it anyway. You guys all know nothing about anything. Yeah, it's.
Got American flag.
I want to give you a quick thought.
Probably, yeah, since it's just gonna be upper body anyway.
I didn't want to say no.
Yeah. If I get you to turn your shoulder just a little bit towards, yep, that
If you
one.
ask him to do it, you pick one.
Three, two, one.
Yeah.
Dark, just give me 1 second here, brighten it up a little bit.
The other ones you've got,
Shutter speed a bit. Okay, one more.
seat that's picked, and Dave and I are all.
3, 2, 1. Great, thank you.
Yeah, and we don't want to be saying to somebody, we're going to put you, let you have a chance to be on the council. It's better for
Wind
that.
up, yeah.
I wouldn't want the
A little
appearance to
bit more
be,
towards me.
I wouldn't,
3, 2, 1. I am paid for it, so, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. In some sense or another.
Fancy.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
We tend not to get candidates who
Anybody need a pen?
Official
are writing down these.
Can I use the pencil?
I don't like giving these out.
Just getting an old writer to do it one more time.
Why? It doesn't say city of
And that doesn't
Just the
make them
angle,
bad
whatever, gets a
candidates.
little
I mean,
wonky sometimes, you can turn that
Your
right.
pen? Oh, you're good.
no, I've got
3, 2,
my
1.
voting pen.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
We'll have
Andy,
to,
you all set? Get the pictures all taken down?
What pictures of us?
Okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to go ahead and bring the meeting back to order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, so what I'd like you to all do is first off, write your name on the top of the paper. This is a matter of public record. And what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and rank the three candidates. You all have their names in front of you. One being the most deserving, two being second, three being your third choice. What we'll do then is we'll go ahead and compile that information based off a scoring system. In essence, whoever has the lowest possible score, which would be 6, if all 6 of us choose the same person with a 1, then obviously that person would be our next city council member. Does everybody understand what we're doing here?
So it's a total,
Whoever has the lowest score, like say, for example, one individual gets number 1 from all 6 of us, then that person would be our next.
so the person with the most number 1 votes, is that what you're saying?
Well, the lowest possible score, he could have like maybe 5 ones and a 2, and that would be a 7, and the next closest person might have, well, it'd be impossible to have anything else because you'd have 5 ones, so you'd have 1 1 and 5 2s perhaps, so then you'd have an 11, or 13, 13, 10, 5, no, an 11. So whoever would have the low score. So let's not make it any harder than it really needs to be.
Well,
You still
I
need to
just-
vote on the candidate.
Right, well, exactly.
but I'm not trying to be obstructive here, but it is possible for someone to get the lowest score and not have the most number 1 votes if they got.
It doesn't
rated.
matter if they have the most number 1 votes. Whoever has the lowest possible score after it's all done will be the individual. Then we'll go ahead and take a recommendation to nominate that person to fill out the remainder of the 5.5 months left on this appointment. You with me?
I'm with you, I'm not necessarily agreeing with you. It's hard for me to believe we choose someone to be our person if they didn't get the most number 1 votes.
Why
but
would they
you
have,
get, he,
Why would they have
why
to?
would they have to have the most number 1s?
Okay. We'll
my
rank
understanding,
order voting, we'll go
Let's
with it.
rank-
my
let's
understanding,
rank.
we're going to vote, after we do all this, we're still going to vote if the top low score person gets the job. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I understood it as. Yeah, I'm just simple-minded.
Pass it on.
And we have another piece of paper that we could go ahead and write all the information on. Yeah, we have to do a compilation. Well, we'll do it together. Okay. We do have a winner. Okay. Mr. Marvin Sullivan, why don't you come on up to the podium, please? And if I could go ahead and get a motion from a member of our city council to nominate Mr. Sullivan to be our next member of our city council. He had the lowest score.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I was second.
Any additional discussion?
I think, to be clear, we can still vote no if we want someone else.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. Welcome aboard, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor, and City Council.
Okay. Chris and Jeff, I would highly recommend that you guys continue to fight the fight and think very seriously about this coming September. On the website, there should be some information in regards to what the process is to running for city council. Take the time to learn a little bit more in regards to the downtown master plan and also the comprehensive plan. I think everybody on this council believes that both of you would be fantastic additions to city council. So I don't want you to give up your hopes. Fair enough?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. With that, we're going to go ahead and move into our miscellaneous portion, miscellaneous and comments. Councilmember Favalis, do you want to go ahead and kick it off tonight?
Is anybody else mowing as much as I am?
I'm sorry, mowing? That's what 12 inches of rain does in the last month.
I don't have anything new to be able to add. We have MRPUC on Wednesday. Maybe next city council meeting we'll have something. Question for Jasper. I don't know if anybody's addressed it yet, but do we have anything in place for mosquito control after all of the standing water everywhere? Because it's getting to be rough.
Yes.
Yeah, if I may, we do not treat for mosquitoes citywide. We do for events like giant celebration, movie in the park. We do things like that where we do spot treatment. But if that's something that we would like to look at, we could definitely look at it through the budget process for 2019. We don't have a mosquito control district in our area, but that would be something that could happen. It is more prevalent when we do get a lot of rain, but when we don't, then it kind of doesn't get brought up. So it'd be something to think about if we do want to pursue it.
Just considering the fact that our 100-year flood and 500-year flood had turned into every 5 years, we might want to consider what a cost or something like that would be. It was my understanding that we used to have something at some point in time, but I could be wrong on that, though. I'd be curious.
What I can do is get a quote from a local vendor for some aerial applications and see if we can incorporate that into the budget if it's something that we want to do.
Do we have any ballpark figures in regards to what it would cost to do mosquito control here in the city? Any idea whatsoever?
I have no idea. I'd be guessing.
Okay, perfect. Is that it? Councilmember Jansen?
In the process of trying to make a decision on whether or not I want to run again for this seat, I went on the website to try to find out when the filing period was and any information that might be there as far as requirements and so forth, and I couldn't find anything on our website. I went to the state and found out the filing period is July 31st through August 14th at 5 p.m., so there's 2 weeks to file for a city council seat statewide. And I just think we need to post and advertise and call attention to the fact that these seats are open. What's the job description? We need to promote this in the public so that people are aware that filing period's coming up. I believe there's still a 25 signature requirement as far as filling out and applying. You got to get 25 endorsements or signatures. So that whole thing begins on July 31st. That's only 3 weeks away. And we have 3 seats that are up. And is there going to be a chamber forum to interview the candidates? What's planned? Because that's coming down the road here, and these 3 gentlemen, I'm sure will want to know more about that, and as well as others. So that's my number 1. I have 2 others. Number 2, we have a comprehensive plan action team meeting a week from tonight, July 16th at 6 p.m. Our main purpose is to talk about and plan the Future of the City Forum, which is our way of getting back to the citizens and talking about the progress we've made with the comprehensive plan, get their feedback and input on things like the downtown master plan debriefing, maybe the mayor's State of the City address can be a part of that. Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about a week from now. And we had originally made that meeting contingent upon some kind of a decision by MnDOT or the county as far as whether Main Street could be opened or not, and that won't happen for another month or 2, so we won't have that information, but we will be looking at the Future of the City Forum a week from tonight. And then the third thing is we all got an anonymous email complaining about some hiring process and so forth, and I think we need to talk about what's our protocol for handling anonymous emails to the city council.
Would you like to go ahead and tackle that, City Administrator?
Yeah, so we occasionally get anonymous emails, and we get some through Request Tracker, through other forums as well. The approach is generally we'd like to know who it is. We'd like to have them bring up the specific issue if there is something, and be able to explain it to them through either email, or if it's something important, we could bring it up at a city council meeting. But it is important to make sure that there is some record of this. It's similar to a police complaint where we need to have something, some sort of basis to say, yep, so-and-so has this issue, and then we can bring it up. But for the most part, I think City Council did a very good job of handling it. And if this individual does want to come forward and talk about things a little bit more, I'd be more than happy.
I just need to clarify, in this situation, we get a concern, we don't know if the person is a citizen of Sueur or not. We don't know if it's a Russian hacker trying to just cause some havoc. So I'm wondering, curious, how should, I understand that maybe we handle it appropriately, but is there a standard way that we should just insist upon a person identifying themselves so we know that they're a Sueur citizen, or what?
I would recommend just, if you feel the need, you can reply to the email and say, I've received your email, I'd like to get your name, your address, and we can proceed from there. So that would be the recommended way to proceed.
And to piggyback on what Councilmember Jansen just talked about regarding this email, does our city attorney have any additional ideas in regards to how we ought to deal with this? This particular individual did not want to be known, completely anonymous.
This is the first I'm hearing about it, and I guess I don't know. anything about it to address it from a legal perspective. If
Okay.
it's just simply an anonymous complaint, you can individually respond however you deem appropriately. As an elected body, you still are obligated to comply with the open meeting law, and any kind of discussion outside of an open meeting about that as a group would be a problem. So I don't know what the email said. I have no context. It's really hard to say.
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Huntington?
I have one question for Councilman Johnson. This meeting you have next Monday, I believe you just said? At
Yes,
6 PM. Where is it at? Here?
it's right here.
Okay, thank you. Other than that, I believe I have a transit meeting this week, and a MRPUC meeting I have. So the next council meeting I'll have a report.
Did you have an HRA meeting last week?
Oh, that's right, I did have an HRA meeting last week. We're in the process of discussing walkway, and the, it is in deterioration right now. And so we're discussing how that's going to play out as far as we've had discussions with the sewer engineers as well as a contractor to look at, just look at what a cost would be to do that. We don't know if this project will be done this year, but we'd like to think it will be, but we're just in the starting stages of that.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Roloff?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Krogman?
I'll be attending the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities convention, I guess we'll call it, meeting in later part of July. The keynote conference speech focuses on ways to increase and promote civic engagement. I honestly don't know if someone could register just for that luncheon on Thursday. I believe it's the 26th, I'm not quite sure of the date. But I need to know, I would like to, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll work with Jasper, and we'll see if we can get people in for just that, because that's a topic, I think, that would be of great interest to all of
I
us.
think so.
Civic, ways to promote civic engagement. If not, I'll be responsible for bringing back information, but
And this meeting's in Mankato?
it's in Mankato, thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
How about our city attorney? Anything tonight, Todd?
Fingers crossed, at the next meeting, I believe Jasper will be presenting a MediaCom franchise fee ordinance.
Really?
And I'm waiting for the clean version of that to come from the attorney that we hired out of the cities, and I won't be here at the next meeting, so I directed him to Jasper to discuss with him whether he should plan on attending by phone for answering any questions, and Jasper will handle all that, so.
Okay.
Outside of that, I don't have any other updates.
It's been a process, but thank you for all your diligence on this.
Yes, it has.
How about our city clerk / human resources director / all the other hats that you wear, Stacy?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay. And our city administrator, Jasper?
Well, I put out a blog, I think yesterday, just kind of giving a project update about just what's going on in the city. I want to do that more frequently, just because we have a lot of stuff going on. We have this capital improvement plan, capital equipment plan. I think it's a good way. We have that document. We use that to guide our purchases for some of these larger projects. But a lot of times the updates don't happen as frequently as what we want. So I want to try to do that, especially during the summer. We're more active as far as what projects are happening, so we get kind of caught up in those things. But the dog park, we have noticed people are using it, so that's good. There will be a dog waste station, I think installed maybe today, or it was installed today. I have noticed that there have been little baggies hanging on the fence, and glad people are picking up their dog waste, but now they'll have a receptacle to put it in. So some of the benches and the picnic tables will be installed this week, I hope. And same with the outdoor pool concrete area, that we've received those benches and picnic tables as well. So it'll be good. the outdoor pool attendance has been low because of all the rain, and now it's hot, so there's a lot more people showing up. So it'd be good to get that stuff installed. Other than that, we do have MRPUC meeting on Wednesday. I will be in attendance to that one. And we do have a Personnel and Budget Committee meeting at 10:30 on Wednesday up in the upstairs conference room. So we will be going over this high-level 2019 budget items, and we'll be plugging along on that schedule to get the preliminary budget or preliminary levy passed by the middle of September. So we're on that journey, and then after that, we will start looking at the enterprise funds and start reevaluating the capital equipment plan, and just kind of get into that rhythm that we started last year, and I think we got a really good start on it, and we'll continue that and build off of it. I think that we've had some hires associated with the reorganization. The Public Services Director, Rich Kachera, he'll be here at the next meeting to present a couple items. We have a snow removal policy that will be up for evaluation by City Council, meter reading policy. So look forward to that. You'll get to meet Rich, and then we'll go from there. I just heard myself. So, but a lot of stuff going on. It's the busy time of year. We're going to start the budget, and anybody that is interested in why things are the way they are, I recommend you come into some of these Personnel and Budget Committee meetings and ask questions, because I think we had some new council members last year that really got involved, and they really got to understand the budget, and I think that opened up a lot of it just created a lot of knowledge of what's going on in the city. So if you're interested in it, I recommend you come in. It's a public meeting. So, and if you do have questions about it, reach out to your council members too and ask those questions, and we can answer them.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, with the
Please.
city administrator. Jasper, would you quickly address the MnDOT Small Cities Assistant Program? We just got confirmation. You said you were going to mention, I know.
Yep, yeah. So every year, part of, there are these Minnesota state aid cities. So these state aid cities, they get an X amount of money based on their lane miles. Our city does not qualify that, so MnDOT has this small cities grant that we get. They tell us we're going to get it every year. We just don't know for sure if we're going to get it. We did get it this year, just like we did last year. It's just under $31,000. So that goes right into our street fund. We do some patching, we do some just general street maintenance, curb repair, things like that. We plan for it, we hope that it comes, we just don't always know. So it's tied to LGA and the LGA process. So, that's very important for our cities to make sure that we understand what's going on in the legislature about LGA and the small cities grant, so we can plan accordingly.
Okay. Question in regards to the dog park. I've had people ask whether or not you must have your pet licensed within the city of Sueur to use the dog park.
Yeah, that's a good question, and that is the plan at the moment. So what we would like is for anybody, if you're in town, out of town, to register your dog with the city of Sueur. I believe it's $7.50 for an annual membership. What that does is that ensures that if your dog is using the dog park, that it's vaccinated, it's not getting other dogs sick. It's kind of a courtesy for the other park owners. We do the licensing through the police department. Jenny Cummins downstairs here can help you out with that. If there is, there will be an event in August where you can register your dog at the dog park, kind of a grand opening event, to be determined as far as the date goes. But that could be an easy time just to show up, get your dog registered, and have that license for the rest of the year.
And I guess the other question I have for you is that this past week, the city of Sueur was awarded some additional monies regarding our sidewalks that we've moved on into fiscal year 2019. Thought maybe you might be able to address that and let people know what kind of role Mr. Owen Todd from Bolton and Mink had with this. And again, on behalf of the city council, thank you to Mr. Owen Todd on whatever endeavors he did to help out the city of Sueur.
Yeah, so we have this Transportation Alternatives Program grant to replace 31 blocks of sidewalk here in Sueur. Through the process, we're acquiring easements at the moment, both temporary and permanent, based on where the sidewalk is. Every year, MnDOT evaluates the ongoing projects, the ongoing grants. If some of the costs are exceeding what was originally proposed, they can adjust those grant dollars. And what we got was an additional $137,000 for that project. So that goes above and beyond what the estimated extra incurred dollars are. It just, some people didn't spend their TAP dollars, so then they have the freedom to allocate them to existing projects. So it's a good thing. It frees up a little bit of our capital that we had dedicated to the TAP project. So that'll be adjusted in the 2019 capital improvement plan, 2019 budget.
Councilmember Jansen.
Just one question. Marvin has been selected as an interim council member. What kind of orientation will he be getting and from whom?
Yeah, I will be reaching out to Marvin and just giving him a crash course, same one you guys took, same information that you guys will get. I'll reach out to the city attorney and make sure that open meeting law information is up to date if there have been any changes. I don't believe there has been, but I will be performing that, and we'll be reaching out and try to get him up to speed as quick as we can.
Thank you.
Great question. And that would be also with the tour of the facilities for the city of Sueur, correct?
Yeah, if Marvin, if you want to look at the facilities, we definitely can take you out.
Okay. And I just want to remind everybody that on Tuesday, July 24th, we've been invited to the annual meeting and dinner for the Minnesota Mutual Power Association. And hopefully we get a good turnout this year. From what I understand, it's a pretty good time. So looking forward to making it this year. Other than that, that's all I have. I'd go ahead and ask for a motion to go ahead and adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. If we could go, let us come by and shake